We're reading together Aristotle's Politics, one of the most important and influential works of political philosophy in all of Western history. Now, as you read the Politics, you may think this is difficult, and it is. It's challenging. It's challenging because the thought world is different. It's challenging because Aristotle is an observer of the experience of the Greeks in politics. And he sent his students all over the Greek world to take notes about the different kinds of constitutions. And Aristotle's Politics reflects both his theoretical approach to politics, but also an empirical, an experiential, an observational approach to politics. And many of the Greek names and places are difficult for us to understand or recognize. And so it's a challenging text at that level. But the Politics is challenging for another reason. It assumes that you are knowledgeable about the foundations of Aristotle's philosophy. It assumes that you understand, in particular, Aristotle's theory of ethics. It assumes that you have read his treatises on ethics, the Eudemian, but especially the Nicomachean Ethics, and especially Book 5 of the Nicomachean Ethics, which includes Aristotle's most important and extended discussion of justice. It assumes that you understand Aristotle's theory of justice. It assumes that you understand Aristotle's theory of virtue. Because for Aristotle, the point of politics is virtue. For Aristotle, the point of political science is to design a political constitution that promotes flourishing, that promotes eudaimonia, that promotes human happiness. So Aristotle's Politics is a text that exists among a whole body of texts whose ideas it assumes that you're familiar with. And Aristotle's Politics is a difficult text for another reason. In fact, it's perhaps not a text at all. In some sense, it's sometimes considered to be his students' lecture notes, and any professor can only wonder what his teachings would look like if the world depended for those teachings on the notes of his students. But in Aristotle's case, his students have done well by him, because this has been quite an influential text. Nevertheless, there's been a great deal of discussion about whether it's left in the order that Aristotle intended. And ultimately, it's difficult to say. What we can say is this, though, that the third book of Aristotle's Politics, Book 3, which covers what it means to be a citizen and the kinds of constitutions that exist, is the central text of the book. And so it's advisable in some sense to think of Book 3 as the foundation of the Politics as a whole. Book 1, which discusses the origins of the state, is perhaps the most theoretical part of the entire book, the Politics. And so think of Book 3 as the foundation, Book 1 as the theoretical approach, Book 2, which discusses constitutions that philosophers have imagined, like Plato's Republic, and actual constitutions that exist in some parts of the Greek world, combines both theoretical and empirical philosophy about the nature of politics. And then the latter books particular focus on the nature of constitutions and constitutional change, and what it takes to live under a certain kind of constitution. Above all, Books 7 and 8 focus on the kinds of education system that are appropriate to various kinds of constitutions. So if you read this text and think that it's challenging, you're not alone. It's one of the most difficult texts in the entire tradition. But at the same time, it's a text that repays the amount of time and attention that we invest in it. Because in Aristotle's Politics lies a way of thinking about the world and thinking about the nature of political justice that resonates and that speaks to us today.